You Booked It, episode 123. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining me today on You Booked It, the #1 podcast where you learn how to create a successful entertainment career. Every episode is a masterclass on how to move your career forward. And if you want even more, head over to youbookeditpodcast.com and join the email community where we dig deep into what you can be doing right now to help book that next gig. And now, let's do this. Okay, let's get started. I am excited to introduce my guest today, John Battagliese. Are you ready for this, John?
I'm ready.
All right. John is a bi-coastal singer and actor originally from Philadelphia. Most recently, he was seen as David in the holiday hit Love Actually Live at the Wallace Annenberg. John toured the country as Greg McConnell in the first national tour of Cruel Intentions, the 90s musical. Other credits include Romeo in Baz, Star-Crossed Love, Hairspray at the Muni, the world premiere of Have You Met Miss Jones alongside Academy Award winner Shirley Jones, and the U.S. and West Coast premieres of Grumpy Old Men, the musical. He has also been seen in concert at Town Hall as the 2016 Broadway Rising Star, the Kennedy Center, Lincoln Center, and is a regular at 54 Below. John, that is a quick intro of who you are and what you've done, but tell us more about yourself, fill in the gaps, and a little bit more about what you do as a professional in the entertainment industry.
Okay, so I am from Philadelphia, born and raised. I grew up and went to Catholic school here. Me and the nuns fell in love with fell in love with performing, and then went to school in Cincinnati at the Cincinnati Conservatory of Music. Had 4 awesome years there, showcased and moved to New York, and then life took off from there. So as a performer, I majored in musical theater, and that's where my love for performing started. And now with the state of the world, I'm realizing that there are so many other facets that I can lend those talents to. So now trying to switch more to TV and film and songwriting and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
quite the ride these last handful of months, hasn't it?
Huh?
Well, let's move on to our first section here. And John,
Cool.
look, I am a sucker for a good quote. What is your
Aren't we
favorite quote
all?
you'd like to share with everyone?
Okay, my favorite quote is long. It's a Teddy Roosevelt quote, and it's the
Great.
one about the man in the arena. Can I read it to you?
Of course.
I literally have it on my computer at all times. All right. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again. Because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Huh, it's a mouthful.
It sure is. But that is such an incredible quote.
Yeah,
It really does, I
I
think,
love
sum
it.
up it sums up a lot of life, but especially our industry. Can you delve into a little bit how that is applied to your career?
For sure. Yeah. My brother is 13 years older than me and was not a performer at all, is an athlete and business person. And he took me to my Cincinnati audition. My parents couldn't go, and he doesn't know anything about theater, obviously. But I was so nervous. And he sent me this quote like before I went in the room to read over and over again. And it gave me the confidence I like really needed in that moment. And if you're familiar with musical theater schools, they tend to have a freshman showcase at the end of your first year. And we all had to write showcase monologues. And I wrote mine about my brother giving me that quote and how it applied to my freshman year and learning all these things. And so it closed out our showcase, and it's just shown up a lot in my life. And I think it's so special because so much of what we do is fail and fail again. And it's hard to have the confidence to keep doing it and keep your head up. And I think the thing I like about this is that it says you will fail, but you will know no victory if you don't try to fail at least.
Yes. Yeah, you have to take
Yeah.
the journey.
Yeah.
Very cool. And let's move on to this next section here. And
Okay.
John, of course, you're an entertainer. I'm an entertainer. And I think that you'd agree. This industry can be one of the most subjective, brutally honest, personally emotional industries in existence. And
Hmm.
you know as well as I that in order to create and have a successful career in this industry like you're having now takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while, yeah, there's an outrageous amount of fun and excitement being an entertainer, doing what we do, there are also our fair share of challenges, obstacles, and failures we are going to experience and we're going to have to move forward through. So tell us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career? And how did you come out the other side better because of it?
I can't think of one specific failure, but I think the idea and the act of actually experiencing failure and having to find ways to live and cope through it was the biggest challenge because no one can teach you that. That's something that you have to experience and grow from the way you're going to experience and grow from it.
Hmm.
So I think that was it. It was learning that you will fail and you're not going to get the show or the thing you really wanted isn't going to play out the way you had hoped, but that there is some there I have a feeling that there's just some greater plan and you're on the track that you were supposed to be on.
Yeah, you're so right. Failing is a full on thing in this industry, in life for sure, for,
Yes.
the rest of the non performers and entertainers in the world. But this industry in particular is so intense with failure. It's a fact of life that you are not going to book every single job you submit for or audition for. And
Yes.
sometimes it's really easy, it's very typecast, and you're like, okay, thanks for showing up, but you're just not the person. And then other times it's absolutely grueling because you get to that last position and it's between you
Oh,
and
yeah.
another person and it's so gut wrenching.
Yeah, it's one thing to say, I think you're told in school or when you're trying to do this how hard it is, and people always are trying to deter you. And they're like, well, it's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. And it is one thing to hear that or see it on paper, but it is another thing to be so close to something and have it not play out and then have to figure out how you're going to go on from there. Because that quote says you can't give up. Like you can't let this one thing keep you out of the arena. And I think that was the biggest challenge was having to learn that on my feet. And I think that's the biggest challenge for a lot of us.
Yeah, for sure. But as long as you keep getting up and you keep moving forward, that's really what matters.
Yeah.
Great. And let's move on to a time that I like to call your spotlight moment. That one moment in time you realized, yes, I am going to be an entertainer for a living. Or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing as an entertainer. Tell us about that.
To no surprise, it started a production of Grease. Makes a lot of sense for who I became as a person. But I was, I think, 6 or 7, and Grease, I was obsessed with the Grease movie, obviously, and used to play it all the time. But I went and saw a production of it in Philadelphia. I don't remember if it was a national tour or if it was at, I think, the Walnut Street, but Frankie Avalon played the teen angel in the movie, and Frankie Avalon is a Philadelphia local and a hometown hero. So Frankie Avalon played the teen angel, and when he came on stage, everyone lost their mind. And he got a
Whoa.
full standing ovation before he even started singing, and I had never seen anything like that. And so I turned to my parents and I was like, I want to be him. And yeah, and I was like, that's it. That's what I want to do. And I was stuck from then on. I don't know who let a 6-year-old make that decision for the rest of his life, but we really stuck to our guns.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, we really doubled down on that one.
So good. And let's piggyback on that real quick and talk about your number one booked it moment. Walk us through that day, the auditions and callbacks, if they happen to be a part of it. What was going on in your life, and what about that moment makes it your favorite booked it moment?
I love the way you say that. My favorite, you're actually included in. It was Baz in Vegas.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that was my first like big job out of college, and I had done some shows previously because this was the first year I graduated, and I had done some regional shows, and I was like dying to do a long running show, and it just nothing was panning out. And so I went in for another show. I went in for production of Chasing Rainbows and didn't get it. Had an awful audition where I cracked at the in the middle of the song and just started laughing. And I was like, we can't pretend that was good. And they were all lovely and very sweet. And the casting director called my agent and was like, he's not getting this, but can he make a tape for Baz for Romeo by tomorrow? So I sent it, didn't hear anything. I was like, okay, it'd be really cool to. I started watching videos of the show and I fell in love with it. It's like, it would be really cool to do that. And didn't think anything of it. A few weeks had gone by and I knew the start date was coming up. So I was like, okay, obviously didn't get it. And I got a call from my agent being like, hey, you booked a summer stock gig at this one theater. And I got excited. I was like, great, that's something on the horizon. And then he called me 20 minutes later, and I thought he was just going over some contract details. And he was like, actually, you're moving to Vegas in 3 days. And I was like, huh? This took a turn.
Yeah.
um, and so that's how that happened. And then life changed from there. And I had a
Oh,
great time doing that. And it was very exciting.
so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Baz really was a beautiful show to be a part of.
Yeah. Oh my God. It was so cool. And it also, I think, was just a great lesson in how quickly life can change in a moment.
Yeah.
And I really had ruled it out. And I had been so disappointed about not getting that Chasing Rainbow show. But something I learned later about how all this plays out is that I go to Baz to open up this whole other facet of my life in California and Vegas and meet all these amazing people, and then go back to New York and audition for Grumpy Old Men, which I did a few times. And from that Grumpy Old Men audition, I got an offer to do Chasing Rainbows through that. And so I was like,
Really?
oh, so I still got to do the show that I was meant to do, but I had an awesome route to get there and met all these other people on the way. It definitely feels a little like Wizard of Oz, Dorothy going down the yellow brick road.
Yeah. That is
Yeah.
so cool, though. I love how it all came
Yeah.
full circle for you.
Yeah. It's you can't go straight to Oz. You have to meet the scarecrow and the lion and all the people on the way.
Exactly. That is
Yeah.
so cool. And let's take a moment to talk about the present. What projects are you working on now? What are you looking forward to? And it's a crazy time, right? We're amidst this global pandemic. How do you see the entertainment industry moving forward in the next couple of years?
Awesome questions. As far as working on right now, uh, not a whole lot. I've used this time to like reset, and it's been really necessary and wonderful. I'm working on a production of Songs for a New World for a charity
Hmm.
benefit for a theater locally here that we're going to do over Zoom and rehearse and then go in and film separately, which I think will be exciting and fun to just flex those muscles again of performing. But other than that, taking time to reset with the future of the business, I do think for the time being, a lot of these more intimate productions will be done. I think like small shows where you can really control who comes in, who comes out are going to have to be our first baby steps back to normal.
The whole digital revelation of this time is really interesting to me. And I think in a lot of ways, it was always an inevitability,
Yes,
but
yeah.
it certainly has been expedited because of this scenario.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people in the coming years, I think a lot of incredible work is going to come from this time where people are having to flex new muscles, whether it's someone who was an actor who was working in 8 shows a week every week for the past 4 years and now has nothing but time
Hmm.
on their hands and is realizing that they can write or that they have all these other skills,
Yeah.
or if it's make a podcast or do something where they're still using their skills that they've honed as a performer, but are having to put them into different avenues. I really think that there's going to be some great things that come down the line from this very introspective time.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I was actually speaking with a producer on the show the other day, Ben Simpson, and he was
Okay.
saying that one of the things that he's enjoying is that he said, look, before at this time, everything was so busy. I was going as fast as I possibly could, but now I have the time to read that script from the unknown playwright or listen to
hmm
the music of the unknown composer.
Yeah, and even as far as auditions go, I've noticed that people who weren't ordinarily going in for some bigger projects are now being considered because there's no limit on location.
Right.
Everyone is doing things remotely. So you're able to see someone who may be the perfect fit, but lives in Chicago instead of New York or LA, where in a quick casting turnaround, you wouldn't have had the time to research or look into that. So I think there are going to be some wonderful things that come out of this really difficult and strange time.
Yeah,
Their emphasis
for
on
sure.
strange.
Yes, very strange. Let's move on to one of my favorite sections in the interview. I call it
Okay.
the Grease Lightning Round. I am
Perfect.
going, yeah, fitting for you. I am going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible, one after another. Are you ready?
As ready as I'm going to be.
All right, first question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career as an entertainer?
I don't think there was one. Unfortunately, I think the 6-year-old said, let's do it. And I followed suit.
Beautiful.
I never questioned it until I got to be an adult. Yeah.
Second question. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
The best piece of advice I've ever received was from Brent Wagner at the University of Michigan. And I'm probably misquote this, but he said, never look side to side. You can't focus on your own path if you are not focusing on yourself. And he was like, the second you look side to side, you lose who you are. And I think that's so difficult sometimes to stick to, but it is really helpful as a guide and compass in this career path.
Yeah, because you have to be yourself, right? You have to bring what
Yeah.
you bring to the table. You can't be comparing yourself to other people around you because they're them and you're you. And as much as you might think that what they're bringing to the table is fantastic, you can't bring it the same way they do. So don't try.
No, and you can't compare if this person gets this show before you and you are waiting and when is my time coming? It's completely different trajectories.
Hmm.
They are apples and oranges. And all you can do is be happy and celebrate and let it drive you, but never compare yourself to it in that kind of damaging way.
Yeah, wonderful advice. And the third question, what is something that is working for you right now? Or if you'd like to go pre-COVID, what was working for you before our industry went on pause?
There's a book that Lauren Graham wrote called In Conclusion, Don't Worry About It. And it's really short. I love her. She's my favorite actress. I'm obsessed with her. But it was basically a high school speech that she had written. Or I think so. Yeah, it was a graduation speech that she wrote that they expanded and turned into a book.
Hmm.
And I would read it like once a week. I'd go to a coffee shop and read it just to center myself and remind myself that you can't, like, in conclusion, don't worry about it. There's only so much you can control. And it has a lot of helpful hints for everyone, but she talks about things as being an actor in her career that I find super helpful and enlightening. So I would say get that book. That was like my little Bible for a little bit.
Very cool. I've never heard of that. I will definitely have to check it out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I you can read it in 20 minutes. It's
Oh,
super
perfect.
short. Yeah.
And the fourth question, what is your best resource? Whether that's a book, a movie, a YouTube video, a podcast, maybe a piece of technology that you found is helping your career right now.
I guess I should have used that for my answer for that. um, but the resource that is helping right now is Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert.
Oh, such a
I
great podcast.
Yeah, I love it so much because it is the perfect gateway for me right now not being able to perform. I'm able to hear all these other people, whether they be doctors or basketball players or scientists, and hear about their own lives. And it has just reminded me that there are so many other things. And as much as I love performing, I can't let it be the only defining feature about me. And so I've really loved learning about all of these different individuals and how varied and full their lives are,
Hmm.
to let it inspire the different colors of what life can be.
Right. Yeah. Such a good
Yeah.
podcast. And you make so many good points there.
Someone, when I was looking at colleges, one of the seniors came up to my parents and I when we were just walking around campus, and I couldn't tell you her name. I couldn't tell you what she looked like. I never saw this girl again. She may have been a ghost, but she like grabbed my parents and was like, "Do not let being an actor be the only thing that defines your son." And I was offended. And I was like, what does she mean? And as I get older and older, I realize how many things there are that can be explored, and all these different facets of life that make us even better performers if we're not just hyper focused on being an actor.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
point. And the fifth question. If you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in this industry, what would you do or not do? Would you do anything differently, or would you keep it the same?
I think I would keep it the same. I would keep it the same. My dad always says something that I'm sure he stole from someone else, but he says, who knows what's good and what's bad? And I think that has been the number one thing I've learned as a performer. And I learned it with the Baz and Chasing Rainbows and all how it all wove together, that you could really want something or think this one thing is going to be the perfect fit for you, whether it be the right college or the right show or in anything in life, the right significant other. But there are all the other things that you have to go through to get to the end destination. So I think I would keep it the same because the yellow brick road is going well so far. It's led
Yes.
me to the right people so far.
Yeah, beautiful. And the last question. What is the golden nugget knowledge drop you've learned from your successful career in this industry you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Work hard and be nice to people.
Oh, so
I,
simple, so true.
yeah, just be nice. Everyone's going through so much, and especially right now, I think the only thing we can do is just offer that.
And to wrap up this interview, John, it is time to give yourself a plug. Where can we find you? How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote?
You can find me at jbatsby, JayBatsby, on all social media platforms. I don't have anything to promote right now. All I would say is if you're in the US, be registered to vote. I think that's pretty much it. I have nothing to plug right now.
That's okay. It's a weird time, man. Yourself is
It's a
enough.
very weird time. It's a very weird time. Just social interactions are hard. I'm like, I haven't had to string together this many sentences in so long.
Yeah,
I'm
right?
rusty. Very rusty.
Fantastic. And for everyone out there, I have put the links to everything John just said in the description of this episode so you can easily connect with him. John, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I love this. I can't wait to keep listening to all your episodes. These are such important things to talk about.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't miss an episode. I have a new guest 7 days a week. Every guest drops more value and insight than any other resource out there. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a rating and review. Also, be sure to head over to youbookeditpodcast.com and join our free email community where we dig deep into a continually growing resource of truly actionable things you can be doing right now to help you advance your entertainment career. All the best to you. We'll see you tomorrow.